Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about our experience in Costa Rica and the resort that we stayed at. But before we get to that, we'd just like to announce that we are married. We did take this trip because of our honeymoon, and there's only a couple places available to travel to right now as American citizens. So we really investigated each part of the countries we were considering, and we ended up choosing Costa Rica, and it was actually really fun. So what we want to do is that we kind of want to lay out our experience of where we went, and so that if you're kind of considering going to Costa Rica or the specific resort that we stayed at, you have a little bit more insight of what to prepare for, because we literally knew nothing coming into it.
Hi guys, my name is Heather, now Stansberry. We booked this trip because we were really excited to learn more about Costa Rica. We got a really great deal through Costco Travel, so it worked out super well. They made it really easy to plan, excursions, and it was an all-inclusive resort, so we got a lot of amazing food, and that's the first thing we're going to talk about is the food the resort had to offer.
Yeah, so they had about 5 or 6 restaurants on the resort grounds. Everything you could think of. They had Mexican, Italian, Japanese. They had a seafood restaurant. They had a steakhouse. Am I missing anything?
And then they had like a buffet, just like
a buffet,
normal
yes.
cafe.
And so we got to experience all of those restaurants while we were there. And I gotta say, I didn't really get bored of any of the food. And we were there for a whole week. So we got to experience a lot, and it didn't really get boring. Now, if you had to stay there for maybe, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it might get a little old because the menus are not, very extensive because it isn't all-inclusive. Overall, I would say that the restaurants at our resort were awesome. Did you mention the name of the resort?
Nope. The resort that we did stay at is called Dreams Las Mareas, and it was so much fun. It was so beautiful, and we'll leave a link to it in the description of this video if you want to check it out. Something that was really cool about the resort is the amazing pools that they had to offer. There were a ton of different pool areas, but they were all somewhat connected. So it was really easy to go from pool to pool to pool, and even eventually to the beach, because all the pools kind of led to the beach. It was very beautiful. The water felt great. It wasn't like insanely crowded, which was interesting, because there are signs everywhere that say if you leave your stuff on the lounge chairs that it'll be removed, say if you just leave it to save a seat. But that we found to actually not be true, because we went to the pools kind of somewhat earlier than most people, like maybe like early afternoon, and there was nobody in the pools, yet all of the seats were saved. There was like a really popular section of the pool where they usually would have like a DJ later in the day, and all those seats were gone, and we didn't really understand because we wanted to use those seats, but there was no one actually swimming or around.
Yeah, and I guess their signs didn't mean a whole lot. I don't even know why they would post that if they're not going to enforce it, but that's just one thing to be aware of when you are staying at this resort, that you can actually, send one of your family members down at 7 a.m. or whenever, put some towels down, and then, sleep in and come back out at 1 p.m. and your stuff will still be there because no one will move it. One thing that was also a little irritating was that we actually had to walk very long distance to get to the pool next to the beach. I don't know, there's probably 5 different pools that kind of connect into each other. The top pools aren't really used too much. It's more of like the bottom ones where everything is kind of happening, because there are 2 bars down there, the restaurants are down there, the beach is down there, the DJs, everything like that. There's a bunch of stuff going on up there. Up on the top of the first couple pools, there's not a whole lot happening. There's a lot of family stuff going on. There's like kiddie pools and stuff like that. So we wanted to be kind of down below, and because we were on the 4th floor, I believe, we had to walk all the way down our building and then walk all the way towards the beach, which was a pretty decent walk. That was a little irritating, but I mean, it was a good scenic walk. The landscaping's awesome there. Lots of pretty flowers, trees everywhere. It kind of just feels like it's a little oasis. It just took a little while to get there.
And it was a nice direct path. It wasn't confusing to get to the beach either.
So once you walked past all of the pools, you got to the beach area. Now the beach area was beautiful. We walked down there a few times during our visit. And what's really awesome is that the resort owns basically the cove. It doesn't own all the way down, but there's nothing over to the left side of it. But the resort's actually built up into the cove, and they kind of own the whole water beach area as well. There wasn't a whole lot of people there, which was pretty cool. I mean, we felt like we almost had the beach to ourselves. We later figured out why there wasn't a whole lot of people at the beach.
We heard from some other guests that were staying there that there's a reason why there's not so many people in the water, and we were like, oh, interesting. And they were saying that there are microscopic jellyfish, like a little something that stings you, and it's not like a big sting, it's not a painful sting, it's more like a tiny little pinch that you only feel when you're swimming in the ocean water. We actually went snorkeling one day kind of deeper into the water, and we got a few like little stings on us, which was a little strange. I had like a tiny mark, and I got stung probably like 3 times by something. You got stung. We didn't see anything. We had goggles on. We're looking around like what just pinched us, stung us, bit us, whatever. It's nothing to really stop you from swimming in the water because it's not super painful. It's not debilitating. It's kind of just annoying. I'd rather not be stung when swimming in the water, but it wasn't anything bad.
So the beaches, the pools, the restaurants, they were all really nice, and we really enjoyed those. As far as our room goes, that was also more than I expected. We were on the 4th floor, and we actually had a view of kind of like the cove area. We could see the rest of the resort kind of wrapping around. You could slightly see the pool and then also the ocean as well. I believe we had a partial ocean view, and it was so cool. Like, I loved going on my balcony and looking out and kind of seeing all that. The room was also really awesome, and we are going to be posting a kind of a walkthrough of our room in a separate video, but I will be posting that on my channel, and you'll be able to kind of see what we sort of stayed in and what the resort comes with in a standard room. The one thing that I will mention that was a little weird about our place that we were staying in was that on the balcony we did have a bathtub. Now, when we first saw it in pictures on Costco's website, we thought it was a hot tub on our balcony. We're like, oh, awesome. We're gonna go hot tubbing like on the balcony, and it's gonna be really cool, like at night, cheese boards or dinner in our hot tub. And we got there and we found out it's actually a bathtub. Now, I don't know why the resort made the decision to put a bathtub outside on the balcony that everyone could watch you while you're in the bath. I don't know, I just kind of view a bath as something where you're supposed to not have any clothes on in the bath, and you kind of had to wear clothes because otherwise anybody could be able to see you.
It wasn't even a bath with like jets, it was just a bathtub.
Yeah, if the bath had jets, then I might consider it to be more of like a hot tub. But it did not have that. It was just, you're just sitting in warm water. I wasn't too crazy about that. We used that, I think, like once. And then there was a bunch of wasps, so we got out real quick.
The resort in general made us feel very safe. There was a ton of security around. They had security checkpoints every time we either entered or exited the resort, so it made it feel very smooth, safe, and easy. Even when we left on excursions, there would be kind of like these little bus drivers coming to get us, and the security at the resort would always check with the bus driver to make sure they were the actual driver, the verified driver for the excursion. And they would check everyone's room number who was going on the excursion to make sure that the correct people were leaving with the correct people and coming back with the correct people. It was really nice to know that they cared about us. There were no points of entry at the resort where anyone could just, walk in, or like anyone could just use the pool or be found in your hallway, anything like that. So it was very, very safe.
And that kind of leads us into like, no one can really drive over there because no one would really want to. Our resort was actually pretty secluded, which could be a pro or a con to some people. It was a pro in the sense that there was no light pollution. It was all really quiet. You could just kind of hear all of the noise of just your resort. You don't hear any roads or airplanes. But the con is that it is a long distance away from any sort of civilization. The closest city was Liberia, which is where we flew into. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive away from our resort. And so because of that, there also is some safety in that, I guess, as well. As far as the city of Liberia goes, we did go visit there a couple times. You could kind of just walk around the city, and we, even at night, didn't really feel like we were in jeopardy of our health or well-being or anything. That was really nice as well. It also makes me want to go back. One thing that I will say, kind of a con about being so secluded, is that Costa Rica's electrical grid, I feel like, isn't the most stable thing. We had power outages probably every night at our resort, and it wasn't like bad. When I say power outages, it kind of just like shut off for like, I think the most was like maybe 12 seconds and then came back on. And one of the reasons I think this is because when we got there, our air conditioner was set at 60 degrees. Now it was, you know, around in the 90s, maybe even 100, like when we were there. So that's a substantial amount of energy that is being used if they set it to 60 degrees every time someone leaves the room. So that may be the case, but also, you know, there was like you know, clubs or the DJ every night, parties, and that used a lot of energy as well, a lot of electricity. So every time, it was kind of funny, every time the power shut off, you could just hear everybody in the distance, yeah, woohoo, and then it would come back on and the party would keep going. It was pretty funny. And that kind of brings us to kind of things to do around the area in which we were. And we were kind of in that northwest tip of Costa Rica, very close to actually the Nicaraguan border. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little bit about things to do?
So I'll mention some of the things that we did while we were out in Costa Rica. Like he said, everything was kind of an hour and a half away from where we were staying. But basically it makes it pretty hard if you don't have a car in the area. You can't really go out to get coffee, or it makes everything So it makes it kind of hard if you don't have a car in that area. So what we did actually, and I think this is better than getting a car, is we hired a private driver through Costco again. It was really affordable, and it was honestly so much fun. It was like a private tour guide, and we had no idea where we wanted to go. We didn't know the area, and before we went, we didn't realize that everything was an hour and a half away. So it was kind of like a little blessing that we happened to hire this driver and not get our own car. We just told the driver, we said, take us to your favorite spots, places you think we'll like, and we'll just go with it. And he did. He took us to some awesome places, and on the way there, he gave us history lessons of the area. He told us about his culture, how he grew up, his family. It was interesting hearing the differences of how we live versus how he lives and how he perceives us and different things like that. It was so much fun and so worth it. And we went to some beautiful places. Some of the excursions that we went on were, we did something called the Pure Adrenaline Tour, where we went zip lining, whitewater tubing, rock climbing, did a Tarzan swing, all in one day, which was an all-day thing. It was super fun. We also, on another day, did an ATV tour where it was just us two on ATVs with a driver or a tour guide, and he took us up this beautiful mountain where we could see the scenery. And then one that we planned super last minute was a trip on a boat out into the water where we went fishing and snorkeling with some local guys that helped us out, and it was awesome. But even if you just want to go to the resort, kind of relax, and then decide later if you want to go on an excursion, they have some tour representatives sitting at the front office. You can call them, you can go to their desk, and you can plan kind of like a day excursion right there, pay for it right there. And that's what we did with our snorkeling and fishing trip.
And I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if they didn't have those stations set up to where if you forgot to plan something, you can just do it at the resort. So that was really nice. So kind of to conclude this video, Heather, would you ever go back to where we went?
100%. I would go back to Costa Rica, Guanacaste area, and Dreams Las Mareas in a heartbeat.
Same for me. I loved our resort. I would definitely go back. I would really like to go back to Guanacaste, but at the same time, I kind of want to check out some other places. I'm super excited about going back to Costa Rica, and honestly, for Americans right now, it's one of the best places that you can go. I think there's,
Yeah.
you know, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Mexico, another one in South America that I believe. You can just look on kayak.com. They tell you everything about what you need to do to be able to get to those places, all the requirements and restrictions and all that, which is really nice. That's a website that helped me out a lot. And then the U.S. Embassy to check into more details. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.